Sorry about the delay. All right, so the beginning of the parasha. You want to see the whole of this Ramban, the very first one. He deals with the why the menorah is here, which is what a lot of Mefarshim discuss. Rashi famously says that because Aaron felt as if they was sort of left out because he wasn't involved in the gifts that were given by the Nesiim, which is listed at the end of Parshas Nosai. So Aaron said, "What is there for me?" Effectively, and that's Beha'alosecha Rabbi Yoni. That's why he's given the menorah. There is one paragraph here where the Ramban explains, if you like, the order, the different places in the Torah where the menorah is discussed. There are three places, effectively, where the mitzvah of the menorah is discussed, and the Ramban's approach is that this parsha brings all of them together, right? This mitzvah, where it's expressed here. Okay, so the paragraph is, I don't know, it begins with avol. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. It's the penultimate paragraph in the first Ramban. Yeah. Avol hasidur parshas ha'elahu.
So I just check. If I'm not mistaken, the Ramban holds that the Torah is in chronological.
Yeah. That's his theme. Yes, throughout the whole thing. Yeah, and that's absolutely necessary. He says everything happened chronologically in the right order.
Might be relevant.
Yes. Avol hasidur parshas ha'elahu kasher pirashti. As I explained, he said at the beginning of the Sefer. Kiboa kosud b'Sefer hazeh lahashlim Toras hakorbanos. The Ramban explained in his introduction to Sefer Bamidbar that this purpose and the way the Sefer is written is to complete the halachos of the korbanos. The Ramban understands that the first half of Bamidbar is a completion of Sefer Vayikra. Sefer Vayikra details what transpired within the Mishkan, right? The korbanos and everything else predominantly. And then you come on to Sefer Bamidbar and you look carefully at Bamidbar and also Beha'alosecha, you'll see that the theme of the beginning parashas is really about completing that whole, the whole description of what transpired. The first three parashas, certainly. Yes, well, Shlach Lecha is different. Yeah, the second half of Korach also deals with all the Kohuna, the things that are given to Levim and the Kohanim. Yeah. Even Shlach Lecha has the Nesachim in. The libations. There's something in every parsha.
You don't focus on it.
Yeah, mitzvah of challah is also in Shlach Lecha. Yeah. It says at the beginning, so you look in Shemos in Parshas Tetzaveh, they're told to take the oil, the Shemen Zayzach, lahalus netomit. Shem hamenorah. Doesn't mention the menorah, interestingly, in Tetzaveh. It just says take this oil. Right, the oil to light. And it would be implied that they should light the menorah when they find it. If they have a menorah, as it says when in the making of the menorah, the hair lights near itself, the hair able out. Should light the lights, and they shall shine to the middle of the menorah. Let's say you don't have a menorah. It's lost or it's broken. Yadliku bilti menorah. You'd say that you can light them without the menorah. Veina menorah ma'akiv hadloka ke mitzvah la'alos ner tomid la'olam. Now, the first instance that the mentioning of the lighting is mentioned, it could be understood that the menorah is not critical. That it's the lighting that's critical. Makes sense, right?
What's not mentioned in Tetzaveh?
The menorah.
The oil.
The menorah. Lahalos ner. What's a ner? A ner is a lamp, is a light, right? Yeah, he mentions shemen and all of that, but he doesn't mention the menorah.
Not so here.
No. 1 second. There's another place because there's the second time is in Vayikra, is in Parshas, it's Emor, yeah. V'achekein hosif etzivam yadu l'doros, commands again for future generations. Tzavas b'nei Yisrael v'yichvei lecha shemen zayis zoch, right? Which I think is in Emor.
Probably.
And it should take for you shemen zayzach. But Omar, and it says, Al ha-menorah haTorah yarach saneris. There it says you should order the neros on the menorah. Shelo yarach ela b'menorah haTorah. The only place to put those neros, those lamps, is on the menorah. Okay, so there you see that the place to light is the menorah. So what's this? Now this third parsha completes the picture. So the first one tells us you have to light lamps, right? Second one says it's got to be on the menorah. After completing the establishment of the Mishkan, because last week's parsha talks about the roles of the Levium, the families of Levium have all the dedication gifts that are given, the Chanukah and Mizbeach, right? It's completed all of that. It now completes Hishlim Oid Kol Dinei HaNeiros, completes all the laws of the Neiros. But Tzivashiu Shivas HaNeiros Kulon Dolkos, the Doros and Mulpanei HaMenorah commands that all 7 lights should all burn for future generations to the Pnei HaMenorah. Kasha Hiske B'Maisa HaMenorah V'her Lo Es Neirosel V'Hir Alev Ponel. And that the lamps should go up and shine to the middle stem. Lo bilti menorah, v'lo bilti she'iru kulom alev panel. There are 2 things that are essential. Number 1, it can't be without the menorah. And number 2, it has to be lit in a special way that they're all facing the middle stem. All the lamps are pointing towards that ner hoimtsoi, the middle stem. So that's what this parasha is telling us. The first time it mentions it is just the lamp, what you're lighting. How you light, right? What you light. Second time it mentions you light it in the menorah. And the third time it says that the method of lighting and the way the lamp should look has to be towards the middle stem of the menorah. Interestingly, he also points out that it doesn't mention in this parsha in the Ohel Moed, and that's to tell us that it also applied in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. All right, let's go now to quite a bit further on in the parsha, to the 2 inverted nuns, like Hibin Sar Ha'aron. This is in Perek Yud Posek Lamed Hey. And the Ramban quotes Rashi, but has a problem with Rashi. Ramban says, Vayhibin Sar Ha'aron, Oselo Simon Milafonov Mela Acharov. You see that, Jeremy, in Perek Yud Posek Lamed Hey?
No.
It's Shishi, actually. It's Shishi, beginning of Shishi. So he says that basically, what are the inverted nuns? Why do you have these 2 inverted nuns? So he says, Osolo Simon Milafonov, he makes a sign in front, Mila'acharov, and a sign behind afterwards. Loma to say, She'ein Zeh Makomo. This is not the correct place. That's why you have these inverted nuns. V'loma Kosov Kain, this is all Rashi. Why does it write this? V'loma Kosov Kan, they'll have to be Peronis lePeronis, to interrupt between the 2 punishments. This is all Lashon Rashi, right? There are 2 things they did wrong. I don't know whether you've got the same page numbers. Kuf Samachet, the page. But it might not be, it might be you've got different pagination. Perek Yud Pasuk Lamed Hey, yeah. Anyway. It's a lot further. Yeah. Anyway, see, what is the punishment? That's the question, right? We understand what went wrong afterwards, the complaining and everything else. But what was beforehand, right? That's the big question, right? That's the big question. It doesn't mention any punishment before it says Vayhibin Sar Ha'aron, right? That's the big question. The Lashon of the Gemara is the second punishment is that the people complaining. The first one is they journeyed away from the mountain of Hashem. Rabbi Chanina says, this comes to tell us they turned away from Hashem. Because of Rav Pirush of Sham, and the Rav writes, it means to say, Rashi explains in his commentary there, that within 3 days of their journeying, his Abu Tavo was they had this great desire to complain for the meat, to rebel against Hashem. He says that was what it means that they journeyed away from the Har Hashem. And Rashi explains there on the Gemara, I think on the Gemara, that it means, what did they do? They had this great desire for meat. Ve'elu divrei Tema, says the Ramban, these are astonishing words. The thing they did wrong about complaining is written first, and the desire for meat is second in the Torah. They're both close proximity to each other. Maybe the Rav holds they are written in the wrong order. It says the hint for the first one is that they journeyed from the mountain of Hashem, and that's the hint to the first one. Maybe from the time they journeyed, they thought to complain about the meat. Then it interrupts and writes the second one, and then goes back to the first one to describe the complaints over the meat. The Ramban says he doesn't understand this. He doesn't understand it at all. He hasn't got a taste or a smell. He doesn't understand this explanation. Again, this very much fits with the Ramban's approach. He doesn't like to change the order. But the basic question is as follows. The Chazal say this inverted nun is to interrupt between two things they did wrong. What did they do wrong? We know they did a number of things wrong later in the parsha. They complained about the meat, but beforehand doesn't seem to be anything wrong. Yeah, that's the problem.
And they moved 3 days, but they never travelled unless they were told to.
Yeah, so it's very difficult. So he says that Rashi in the Gemara understands that journeying away from the Har Hashem, the mountain of Hashem, is a hint to the subsequent thing they did wrong later on, and really that took place earlier on. But the Ramban doesn't like that, right? So you look in that Gadata, and you find the explanation of this medrash.
It's in the Ramban.
Yeah, continue. The Ramban continues.
Well,
It's about
Eila Divrei Tema.
Yeah, Ve'elu was a Tam Oreach. Can you see that? After Ve'elu Divrei Tema, the end of that paragraph. There's a next paragraph is Avol. Inyan HaMedrash Hazeh, Motza Seba Gada. The Inyan of this medrash, you find it in Agadata. Shenosu Mehar Sinai B'Simcha Ketina Kabarech M'Beis HaSefer. You look in Agadata, you find that the punishment, the thing they did wrong, was they journeyed away with too much joy, like a child who runs away from school. Omri, they said, Shema Yarbev Yitin Lanu Mitzvahs. Maybe he's going to give us lots of more mitzvahs. V'zeu b'yishu me'ar Hashem. And that's what it means when it says they journeyed away from the mountain of Hashem. Their intention was to journey away from there because it was the mountain of Hashem. Because they didn't want the burden of the mitzvahs. V'zeu peronos rishona. And that was the first thing they were punished for. The hifsik and it interrupts it. You sholosh pronis muchos. 3 things wrong, one after the other. The nimsu muchzokim b'peronis, and they would have 3 things wrong, one after the other.
Where's the third?
No, there were 2 afterwards. There's the complaining, and then there's the meats. The misonanim and the meat. We'll come on to it. The korachik peronis avbi shleir lahem mimenu peronis. You don't see a punishment resulting. Maybe without this punishment, maybe without this thing wrong, maybe they would have entered Eretz Yisrael immediately. So very important Ramban. The Ramban understands that the explanation of what it means that this pasuk by him and Saharan interrupts between one thing and the second thing is the fact that the journeying from the Har Hashem was done in an incorrect manner. They didn't have the right attitude. They left like a tinoik haboreach mebeis hasefer, ran away. They didn't think and concentrate on what they were supposed to be doing, learning, and everything else. And the fact that the mitzvahs were there to help them, to assist them, to make them grow. Yeah. And that was the problem. That was the problem.
All right, but why put 2 psukim within inverted nuns in the middle?
For that you've got to see yourself.
Or does he say that later?
No, one doesn't explain that. But for that, you've got the very famous and beautiful idea of Rav Soloveitchik, which I've quoted in the past. That's right. This is the Rav Soloveitchik. I think links this to the Gemara, which says that there are 3 Sforim in Bamidbar. There's the first part, and there's the 2 psukim and other Sefer, and there's a Sefer B'fnei Atzma. These 2 psukim Sefer B'fnei Atzma. Soloveitchik says that they are the first and last psukim of what would have been the Sefer had they gone straight into Eretz Yisrael. It's what would have been. It's the Sefer of potential. It's what could have been, but wasn't. I've spoken about it before. Maybe I'll speak about it again. Maybe I'll speak about it. Who knows? We'll see. Well, only a bit. I'll see. I think there's no No, he develops it. In that Sefer, the one you gave me. Anyway, who are the misonanim? Look at the next Ramban. It's very confusing, right? It's very confusing because look at the psukim, the beginning of Perek Yudalef. The people were misonanim. What is misonanim? Rashi explains they sought a pretext to complain, right? How to separate from Hashem. Rabbos ne Hashem, they were evil in the ears of Hashem. Hashem was angry with them. And they were consumed by fire. Then they cry out to Moshe, and Moshe davens to Hashem, and the fire dies down, and it's called Tav Eira Kivara Bam Eish Hashem, because the fire against Hashem burnt against him. Now that's the end of the Misonanim. That's it. 3 psukim. Misonanim was one of the things they did wrong. They're called the Misonanim, right? The next bit is the whole story of the Ta'ava. Those who desired food, and they said, we remember how wonderful it was in Egypt, right? We remember the fish and the thing and everything else. How and the onions, and then they forgot what how the taste of the mon was so special. In fact, I'm giving Shir this Shabbos Mincha. Shir's on sherry cask whiskey. It's a good topic, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Why? How are we allowed to have it? Take the wine. What?
Johnny hates it.
Yeah.
And that is
sherry cask. Well, I just thought because the taste of the mon. That's all about the taste of the wine. Anyway, that's another sneak preview. Anyway, let's see on the Ramban. So the question is, who are these people? What did they do? Doesn't explain what they actually complained about. Just says they complained, right? Yeah. Look at the Ramban. Ramban quotes Ibn Ezra. Amar Rabbi Avraham Gizras Oven. Oven. It means sin, basically, sinful. Veinenu nochon, he says. It's not correct. Why would the Torah cover up, conceal what their sin was? Everywhere the people do something wrong, the Torah doesn't mince its words. The Torah says this is what they did wrong. They worshipped the golden calf. They sent the flood. It tells us, why would it be hidden? They sinned. What did they do? Right? Vanochon Be'inai says what is correct in my eyes. And you'll see this links to what he said before. When they distanced themselves from Har Sinai, which was close to the settled area, and they came into this great and awesome desert, that first journeying through. They were pained in themselves. Lamar to say, Manasa, what should we do? How are we going to live in this desert? What are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? How are we going to bear the toil and the affliction? When are we ever going to leave it? He brings a posuk in Eicha. Yisonein means to groan. A living person groans about his sins. Shuloshen koyev, pain, pain for oneself. Ben Oni. Rochel, what did she name Binyamin? Ben Oni, which means Ben Sari, the son of my affliction, because she died in childbirth, right? The sign of my pain. Okay. V'onu adayogim v'ovlu is another posuk in Shayom, means the same thing. And once the posuk has mentioned that they were pained and in pain, and they were in pain and feeling pained, it's already told us what the sin was. Okay. It says like misonanim, they spoke with the bitterness of their soul, as those who are pained do. That's like they were misonanim, like those who complain, who basically say they're in pain. But this was evil in the eyes of Hashem. Why? They should have followed Hashem with joy and goodness of spirit. All the good He's given them. And it's like they had to be forced. They were complaining on their situation. It says, they went and they sat and they cried, also the children of Israel. Their first thing was that they complained about the lack of comfort in the desert, right? The lack of things they were enjoying. And then they continued to do the same theme. They didn't learn the lesson from the fire that burned amongst them. Because what did they do next? They had a desire for meat. So it was linked. Okay? Yeah. So the Ramban basically is saying that this was what they did wrong. In that word kamisonanim, everything is contained. You understand? His question was that misonanim, like the Ibn Ezra learns, just seems to mean they sinned. Doesn't tell us what. What was the sin? And the answer is no. He says misonanim means to complain. Or to be like one who is in pain. In other words, instead of having faith in Hashem, they only just journeyed forward. They only just journeyed into the desert. They complained about their situation. They refused to accept that it was Hashem's will, and that was something which was very negative for them to have done. Okay, let's just see. Got time for maybe a little bit more. Okay, so basically, let me just summarize a little bit of the last one I wanted to show you, basically. There is a very difficult pasuk later on, pasuk Chof Beis and Chof Gimel, where Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem says, basically Hashem says they're complaining about meat, right? And then they complain about eating about meat, and you complain, who's going to feed us meat? It was better in Egypt. And he says you're going to have so much meat, so it comes out of your noses. You're going to get so much meat, right? That's in Pasuk Chof, right? And because you complained. And then Moshe says something astonishing. He says, there are 600,000 people. How can you say? He says to Hashem, I'm going to give them meat, right? Can I, is there enough meat for me to shech for them all? All the fish in the sea? It still won't be enough. How is it possible they're going to have meat? And Moshe, Hashem answers, what? Hayad Hashem tiktor. Is the hand of Hashem short? Now you'll see how my word is correct. So Ramban asks the question everyone asks. Chazal asks this. As Rashi brings different opinions in the Medrash to understand this. Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Nossi, and I think Rabbi Shimon. Everyone has tried. It finds this astonishing. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu and everyone, Nissim, miracles. Hashem can do anything. Hashem has split the sea for them. He's brought the. So why is it now? The Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, how can there possibly be enough meat? Makes everything's miraculous. The man is falling down every day from heaven. You understand? So why is it now? And there are different approaches, right? You can see Rashi, don't have time to go through it. Rashi, they explain exactly what the words of Moshe mean and everything else. Let's look at the Ramban's explanation. Second paragraph. Kikasha, the correct to me, he says, Kikasha Yas Hashem Osid Israel. When Hashem does miracles to the Jewish people, chesed it's chesed, kindness. So everything is the goodness of Hashem to perform miracles. Zulosi, except when there's anger to those who transgress His will, of midas hadin, the raw gemura, then it becomes with anger and midas hadin, it was strict attribute of justice for something negative, complete negative. So he says with miracles there's only complete goodness. He says like this: miracles are one of two extremes. It's actually quite a foundational principle, Ramban here. Miracles do one of two extreme opposite purposes. They can either be completely good, they're complete kindness, like a flash of complete chesed. Hashem splits the sea, or complete vengeance, midas hadin, right? Like the Egyptians in the sea, right? You understand? A miracle is one of those two extremes. Hashem was a miracle either in complete kindness to save the Jewish people, or a complete act of vengeance to punish those who stood against them, right? And you find both examples in the Torah. When he said to them he was going to give their request, accede to their request. And Hashem says, I'll give you meat, you'll eat meat, it'll be disgusting you. So much meat. He saw there wasn't going to be a miracle to create meat the same way Hashem created the mon, right? Right? The mon, right? Right? In other words, that was the Chazal say nothing. Tomei descends from Shemayim, and that's talking about the Mon. Void and furthermore, miracles are pre-stated to Moshe Rabbeinu. So the people he said you should sanctify yourselves tomorrow below Hodioi. He didn't tell him. He didn't tell him. He just told the people, sanctify yourselves, be ready for tomorrow. But he didn't inform him in that way. Even Moshe understood, and that was his question. Because he could see from the way this was introduced, this event was introduced, right? That maybe, I think he's also inferring from that, says they will eat meat that wasn't going to be miraculous. It wasn't going to be miraculous, right? But Al-Kain Shoal. And therefore he asked Bitzmir with astonishment, what will he do for them in a natural way? And Moshe Rabbeinu said like this. Moshe Rabbeinu understood from the way this was introduced and the fact that they would be given meat to eat and the fact that he told them, the people, be ready for tomorrow. But it wasn't introduced to Moshe Rabbeinu like he was the other place. He was told, stand on the rock and I'll make the water go. None of that was happening. He understood this wasn't going to be miraculous. This was going to be b'derech hateva, through the natural order. And therefore, he said, how can there possibly be enough without a miracle? And what was the answer? Hashem Yeshiva, and Hashem answered him, Ki ein yad Hashem katsara. The hand of Hashem is never falls short. Los islem she'losom gam b'derech hamikrim, to give whatever they request, even b'derech hamikrim, even if it looks like it's happenstance, it's by chance, that it's not miraculous. So the Ramban says that was what was really going on here. It wasn't that Moshe Rabbeinu could not see and understand how Hashem could create a miracle of there being enough meat. Hashem could make the mon descend from heaven, and therefore, obviously, he could create meat. But he understood that this one would not be miraculous. This would be a natural thing. And they said, I can't understand that. How can it possibly be? And the answer is incredibly important, because Hashem's answer is Hayat Hashem Tiktar. I can operate through any method I desire.
Yeah.
I don't have to only operate in a miraculous way. Yes, I can provide the meat in a normal way. And you'll see. And there'll be a flock of quails, as happened, that will provide everything they need. Right?
Those quails just drop out the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, he talks about that. No, that's good. And he talks about that, actually. That's what he says. That's what he says. The next Ramban says that about the wind. He says that. Okay, look at the next Ramban. He says, will my words basically, it doesn't talk about a miracle. Will my words kind of be withheld, I think, right? That's how the Targum understands it. And it says, he says, can anything not be too wondrous for me? Because it wasn't a miracle. It wouldn't be done as a miraculous way. A wind came, a normal wind. It doesn't say ruach yom chazok ma'il ruach kodim azah. With the splitting by the sea, there's also a wind, but that was an exceptional wind, a very strong wind. Here just says a regular wind. Ruach stam kinahugim, a regular wind. When the quails came, and they weren't created for them now. There's nothing exceptional from the natural way of the world. That was all. All they had now was a lot of them, but it was in the natural way. So that was the message. That's how the Ramban understands it. And that was what.
Let's go back to the previous one. It says,
yes.
What's that?
They understood that this would not be as a miracle from Hashem.
This is not miraculous.
Not miraculous. And that's what he struggled with. Because he'd seen and experienced Hashem in a miraculous operation, right? But he couldn't fathom how it was possible to do this in a natural way. And Hashem says, I can do anything, and I'll provide them in a natural way, and I'll show you how it's done in a natural way. Maybe that's part of the message. Maybe that links to maybe that's the deeper message in the whole thing, right? That the people are now journeying forward, and they're saying, well, we can't do this, we're not going to manage, what's going to happen, how are we going to have enough food, etc., etc. You know, there's all these the complaining that's going on. And Hashem says, I can provide for you, and I will provide for you in the natural way.
The mom wasn't natural.
No, but that's the point. I can also provide you in the natural way as well. Yes, a miraculous existence. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Have a very good Shabbos.